In a few moments, you should get a printout that looks something like this. We're finished with our work in this segment, so let's exit AmiPro and save our changes. To exit AmiPro, we press Alt F4. And in a moment, a Save Changes dialog box appears, asking us if we want to save the changes we've made to the Meeting 3 document. Let's click on Yes to save our changes and return to Windows. In a few moments, we'll return to the Windows screen. This brings us to the end of Segment 3, in which we learn how to reposition and duplicate text using the cut, copy, and paste commands. Then we use the find and replace command to make changes to strings of text within our document. Please pause the tape now and complete the additional exercise and quiz in your workbook. When you return, we'll learn how to adjust various page layout settings. So far, we've learned how to create a document, perform some basic editing, and format text. In this segment, we'll learn how to change the page layout of a document by adjusting the margins, tab settings, text alignment, and line spacing. Then we'll explore working with two documents at once. If you're working along with me, you should have AmiPro up and running. Let's begin by opening a copy of the meeting file we modified in the last segment, called Meeting 4, by clicking on the Open Smart icon. In the file name box, we type Meeting 4 and press Enter. In a moment, the meeting file is displayed in the document window. In AmiPro, we can modify the look of a document by adjusting its page layout, which consists of line spacing, margin settings, tab stops, and so on. To modify these settings, we use the Modify Page Layout option, which is located on the Page menu. Let's take a look. First, we open the Page menu by clicking on it. Then we click on the Modify Page Layout option. And the Modify Page Layout dialog box appears. In the upper left is the Modify box, which contains 5 radio buttons, each of which will provide access to a series of different page layout options, as we'll see in a moment. Currently, the Margins and Columns button is selected, indicating that the options available to the right allow us to modify the page margin and column settings. Below the Modify box is the Pages box, which allows us to specify if these changes should affect all pages in the current document, the right pages only, or only the left pages. To the right, in the main area of this dialog box, there are options that will allow us to modify the tabs, margins, and column settings for this document. In addition, on the bottom right is a sample box, which displays a visual representation of the document based on the current settings. To view some other options available in this dialog box, let's click on the Page Settings button, located in the Modify box. Instantly, the main area of the dialog box changes, revealing options that allow us to modify the paper size and orientation. Notice that the sample box still appears in the lower right corner. This box is designed to give us a visual display of any options we select. For example, let's click on the Landscape button in the Orientation box. In a moment, the sample changes to show that the page is now in Landscape orientation. Let's return to Portrait orientation by selecting that option. Since we want to adjust our margin settings, let's click on the Margins and Columns option in the Modify box. And the margin and column options reappear in the main area of the dialog box. If we look in the center of the dialog box, we see an area labeled Margins, with 4 boxes located underneath, representing the left, right, top, and bottom margins. For our purposes, let's say we want the left margin to be 2 inches instead of the default margin of 1 inch. To adjust this setting, we click on the up arrow next to the left box under Margins. Let's click on this arrow until the number 2.00 appears. Now, if we look at the sample document, we can see the new margin setting. Since this is the only change we need to make at this time, we click on the OK button. In a moment, we'll return to the document. As we can see, the left margin has been increased. Another way of changing margins and tab settings is with the MicroVideo ruler. To display the ruler, we click on the ruler smart icon, which looks like a yellow ruler. And the ruler appears underneath the smart icon bar. Notice that the ruler smart icon has changed and now appears grayed out with a line through it. This indicates that the function of the button has changed, and clicking on this button now would remove the ruler from the screen. The MicroVideo ruler displays a series of numbers and symbols across the page to indicate the position of the tabs and margins. The tab stops are displayed as triangles with vertical lines next to them. By default, MicroVideo places a tab stop every ½ inch. As we'll see in a short while, we can easily change this. On both the left and right ends of the ruler, there is a triangle pointing inward, which indicates the position of the left and right margins. On the left side of the ruler, above the left margin indicator, are 2 triangles, one on top of the other. These indicate how far the paragraph will be indented from the left margin. The triangle on the top shows how far the first line of the paragraph will be indented, while the lower triangle indicates how far the remaining lines of the paragraph will be indented from the left margin. Currently, the ruler is displaying the indentation of the paragraph containing the cursor. On the right end of the ruler is a similar triangle, which indicates how far the paragraph will be indented from the right margin. Let's experiment with the ruler now. First, we'll change the left margin back to 1 inch. To do this, we move the mouse pointer over the left margin indicator. Then we click and hold down the left mouse button and drag the left margin indicator to the left. As we do, a vertical dotted line appears, indicating the current position of the margin. This dotted line extends the entire length of the screen to help us see where the new margin will appear. Let's continue to drag the marker until it's located at the 1 inch mark. When the left margin indicator is on the 1 inch mark, we release the mouse button, and the left margin is moved as reflected on the ruler and in the document window. You probably noticed that when we clicked on the left margin indicator, a second ruler called the tab ruler appeared. We can use this ruler to change the tab and column settings. We'll discuss this ruler in more detail in a few moments. To remove the tab ruler temporarily, we click anywhere in the document, and the tab ruler disappears. Now that we've adjusted the margin, let's experiment with paragraph indentation. First, let's place the insertion point somewhere in the first paragraph of the document, since this is the paragraph we want to indent. Now let's adjust the right indentation of the paragraph by clicking on the right indentation indicator, which is currently located at the far right end of the ruler. Then we hold down the left mouse button and drag the indicator until it's over the 7 inch mark on the ruler. When we release the mouse button, the current paragraph is indented from the right margin. While we're at it, let's indent this paragraph a ½ inch from the left margin. To do so, we need to move both of the left indent triangles at the same time. The easiest way to do this is to click on the vertical line located to their left. If we click on the vertical line, then drag it to the 1½ inch mark, notice that both indicators move at the same time. When we release the mouse button, the whole paragraph is indented. Now, suppose we wanted to indent only the first line of this paragraph another ½ inch. To do so, we simply move the upper of these two indicators. Let's try it. If we click on the top triangle and drag it to the 2-inch mark, then release the mouse button, the top line of the paragraph is indented another ½ inch, while the rest of the paragraph remains in place. Now that we've explored paragraph indents, let's adjust the tab settings to improve the look of our document. Let's start by aligning the header area. To begin, let's click at the beginning of the document to the left of Internal Memo. Notice how the to, from, date, and subject entries are not aligned. By adjusting the tab settings, we can change this to make the headings appear more uniform. To adjust the tab settings, first we need to select all of the text we want the new tab settings to affect. In this case, we'll select the 4 heading lines of the memo. Next, we click anywhere on the MicroVideo ruler to make the tab ruler appear. Now let's take a moment to explore this ruler. On the far left of the tab ruler are 4 buttons representing the different types of tabs we can use. Currently, the left tab button appears pressed in, indicating that any tabs we enter now will be left tabs. Next to the left tab button is the right tab button. When we use a right tab, everything we type will appear to the left of the tab stop and will be right justified. The third type of tab is a numeric or decimal tab, which aligns decimal points when working with numbers. Finally, we have the center tab, which will align text around the tab stop. Next to the tab buttons is the tab leader button, which will allow us to insert a solid or dotted line between tab stops. To its right is the columns area, where we can specify multiple columns for our documents. This would be helpful if we were creating a newsletter or magazine with multiple columns of text on one page. For example, if we click once on the up arrow next to the columns box, our document is divided into 2 columns of equal size. Let's return our document to a single column by clicking on the down arrow next to the columns box once. Next to the columns box is a button labeled IN for inches, which is used to change the ruler scale from inches to centimeters, picas, or points. The final button on the tab ruler is the Clear Tabs button. If we click on this button now, all of the current tab stops are removed or cleared. Now that all of the existing tabs have been removed, let's place a left tab at the 3-inch mark. First, we select the type of tab stop we want by clicking on the left tab button. Next, we move the mouse pointer to the ruler above the 3-inch mark. Then we click the left mouse button, and the tab stop appears on the ruler and the selected text is moved accordingly. That looks okay, but let's move the tab back to the 2-inch mark so that there isn't so much space between the entries. To do this, we can simply move the tab by dragging it to the desired position. First, we move the mouse pointer until it's over the new tab stop we just created. Next, we click and hold down the left mouse button and drag the marker back to the 2-inch mark. Then release the mouse button, and the tab stop is relocated and the selected text moves accordingly. Although the ruler provides a quick and easy way to adjust margins and tabs, The Page Layout dialog box we